Welcome. You're tuned into Life is a Sacred Journey. Every week, we bring a new perspective to aging and caregiving. Here is your host, Michelle Pope.
It is always my honor and privilege to get up on Friday morning, drive into my office, and join you in the virtual neighborhood of Life is a Sacred Journey. We are a platform that tries to find information and individuals that can support caregivers primarily, because we know there are a bunch of caregivers out there trying to figure out how to navigate caregiving. So you'll find that we talk a lot about caregiving, but we also know that when we, meaning individuals, are their best self and have the tools that they need to navigate the stressors of life, whatever it may be, you become a better caregiver, you become a better parent, you become a better person, and the humanity benefits from that. So my motto is be the change you want to see. So we're so busy in this world hitting fingers at other people, but looking in the mirror at ourselves is paramount to create change in the world. That change does not happen by pointing fingers and judging others. It just doesn't. You know, if it did, we would already be changed, right? We would already be changed. So that's the platform you've joined this morning. I'm excited to say we have had now over 4,000 views of all of our podcasts for this year only. So thank you to all of you subscribers and viewers out there. Please hit the subscribe button. Leon is always reminding me, and so is Felicia, our producer. Please subscribe, okay? I don't even know what it means, but go subscribe because it means something. They know what it means. So subscribe. So this morning, I am excited because I have done my homework as I always do. I love learning about people and finding out about people. And this morning, Terry Tucker, who is my new best friend, has joined us here on Life is a Sacred Journey. I need to tell you a few things about this man, and then he and I will share, and you'll be a part. It's like you're listening in, which is so cool. So you've joined us in this virtual community. This is a man who has had struggles, just like everybody else, struggles in their lives, health issues that have come into his existence that have taken him literally to his knees. Things that we would have, many of us said, no, I can't deal, no more, no more. And he dug inside that place that I think we all have, that place of light inside of us that says, just go another step. As an athlete, and he's an athlete, I'm an ex-athlete now, and we both are ex-athletes. There was a time when I was playing ball or running that there was nobody else on the field, nobody in the stands. I didn't hear them, I didn't see them, and I was just focused on what I was going to do, whether it be the basketball hoop or the goal line. And at that moment, I was at my best. And I knew it, but it was because I was working with everything I had inside. It wasn't coming from the outside, it was coming from the inside. And so Terry talks about this. He's written a book that he is right there in the background. And he has 10 points in it that he's going to share with us. But he has a wonderful, wonderful story. And his main thing, and this is, he and I resonate here, faith, family, and friends. And for me, it's in that order. Everybody knows that. That's exact order. It never deviates. It never falters. It never moves. And it makes me better with my family. My faith makes me better with my family and my friends, and then I can go out into the community. So this man took time out of his morning to join us. So I wonder if my round of applause is working. Hold on. Terry, a round of applause.
Well, thank you, Michelle.
My
I'm looking forward
soundboard
to
isn't
talking with
working
you.
properly, but I am happy to have you here this morning. Welcome to Life is a Sacred Journey. And, I want to start by just saying to you, thank you for being what I call a warrior of peace, a warrior of change, and a warrior of love. We take the word warrior and we always think it's to maim and to hurt, but we can be warriors of values that make us better people. And I consider you to be one of those individuals. Welcome to Life is a Sacred Journey.
Well, thanks, Michelle. I'm really looking forward to talking with you.
Yeah, so let's start. Tell us a little bit about your story. Get us started. I dropped some little hints, but for you to be more specific, if you wish. But tell us your story. How did you tell your story? You don't need me.
So I was born and raised on the south side of Chicago. I am the oldest of three boys. You can't tell this from looking at me, but I'm 6'8" tall. And I played college basketball at the Citadel, a military college in South Carolina, despite having 3 knee surgeries. And when I graduated from college, I moved home to find a job. I'm really going to date myself now, but this was long before the internet was available to help people find their jobs. Fortunately, I found that first job in the corporate headquarters of Wendy's International, the hamburger chain. Unfortunately, I ended up living with my parents for the next 3.5 years as I helped my mom care for my father and my grandmother, who were both dying of different forms of cancer. In my professional career, as I said, I started out in sort of the corporate world at Wendy's. Then I became a hospital administrator. And then I made a major shift in my life and became a police officer. And I worked undercover narcotics. I was a SWAT team hostage negotiator. I started my own school security consulting business. Published a book in 2020, was a girls' high school basketball coach. But for the last 10 years, I've really been, as I think you sort of alluded to, a cancer warrior. And then I guess finally my wife and I have been married for 28 years. We have one child, a daughter, who's a graduate of the United States Air Force Academy and is an officer in the new branch of the military, the Space Force.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That's exciting. I didn't know that part. Wow. Yeah, congratulations to her. And, we were celebrating the month of the woman, and to know that we live in a time where you can even say that is just really cool. And so for her, thank you, courageous young woman, for doing the things that you had to do to get to that space in this new space. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. So. Sure. You're dealing with cancer now, even, and that has taken you into a journey where you are reaching out. You wrote a book in 2020, was it?
That's correct.
And so what pushed you to do that? Because you were dealing with some physical things even at that time.
I was. The book was really born, I guess, out of 2 conversations I had. One was with a former player that I had coached who moved to the area in Colorado where my wife and I live. And we had dinner with her and her fiance. And I remember saying to her one night after dinner that I was really excited that she was living close and I could watch her find and live her purpose. And she got real quiet for a while. And then she looked at me and she's like, well, Coach, what do you think my purpose is? I said, I have no idea what your purpose is, but that's what your life should be about. Finding the reason you were put on the face of this earth and then living that reason. So that was one conversation. And then I had a young man reach out to me on social media, a college student, and he said, what do you think are the most important things that I should learn to not just be successful in my job or in business, but to be successful in life? And I didn't want to give him the, get up early, work hard, help others. Not that those aren't important. They are very important, but I wanted to see if I could go deeper with him. So I spent some time, I wrote some notes. I eventually had these 10 thoughts, these 10 ideas, these 10 principles. And so I sent them to him. And then I sort of stepped back and I was like, well, I've got a life story that fits underneath this principle, or I know somebody whose life emulates that principle. So literally during the 3-month period between the time I had my leg amputated and the time I started chemotherapy for the tumors in my lungs, while I was healing, I sat down at the computer every day and I built stories, and they're real stories about real people. I built stories underneath each of the principles. And that's how the book Sustainable Excellence 10 Principles to Leading Your Uncommon and Extraordinary Life came about?
Not all of them, if you don't want to, but kind of give us an overview. And then I want to make sure that all of you have time. So get a piece of paper and a pencil so that you can write some of these things down, but also go and get the book. I've ordered mine. It hasn't come yet, and I'm waiting on it and buy two. This is my new thing in life. Buy two because you're going to give it away to somebody. Okay, so you buy two. It's okay. You can do it. You buy two and then say you have yours and then give it away to the first person that you meet who says to you, I'm searching for my purpose. I'm searching for my next step. Just give it to them as a gift and say, you know what? Eat the meat, throw away the bones, but take this book as my gift as you get on your journey, because that's what books are good for. And I do that all the time and end up sometimes giving away the book that I wrote in, Terry. People will call me and say, Michelle, I think you gave me the wrong book. I think I have your book because I write in them. And so tell us about those 10 points that you pull together to make your Sustainable Excellence 10 Principle book.
So it's funny for me as an author. It's not really funny. It's a good conversation starter because when somebody reads the book, there's always one principle, and the principles are not in any order. Number one isn't any more important than number 7 or anything like that. But there's always one principle that resonates with the reader, and it's always different, and it's always fun for me to see. Number 7, right? Resonated with you. Number 2 and stuff like. And I wrote the 10 of them, but there is one that resonates with me. And I'll give you that. And it resonates with me because I've done this. A lot of us, I think, have done this over our lives. And each principle is a chapter. And so this chapter is titled, Most People Think with Their Fears and Their Insecurities instead of using their minds. I know I've done that. I know I've done, I'd like to do that, but that scares me a little bit. Or, what are people going to say about me if I fail? Well, that's thinking with your fears and your insecurities. So that's the one that resonates with me. There's a chapter in there, the last chapter, excuse me, about the importance of love, in our lives. There's a chapter, I was a hostage negotiator on the Cincinnati Police Department SWAT team, and the importance of listening, but not listening to respond. And we're all guilty of this, I think. It's like, all right, hurry up, Michelle, say what you're going to say because I want to get my 2 cents in there. I'm not listening to what you're saying. I'm listening to wait till you finish so that I can respond. So a big difference in learning to listen to understand versus listening to respond. So there's a chapter about that. There's a chapter in there about failing and the importance of failure, especially when you're young. And a lot of young people, I don't want to take the chance I might fail. I hate to tell people this, but anybody who's successful in life has failed numerous times. So don't think failure is something that you shouldn't do or you can't do. Yeah, you should do it. You should take a chance, make a mistake, but learn from that mistake and apply it as you go down the road. And then I guess one of the last ones I'll end with is you are the person that you're looking to become. So even if you're not that person today, you are that person. You just haven't gotten there yet. So don't quit, don't give up, keep moving forward, and eventually you'll get to the person that you want to be.
And Terry, that to me is a lifelong journey that we go on. It's so funny, nothing happens by accident. No conversation is a mistake. I just said to someone in their 20s just yesterday, this is the time that you should not, and I didn't mean it experimenting in alcohol, drugs, or anything like that, but experimenting with your dreams, because nothing has to stick now, really. You have no children, you're not married yet, you're just starting your career, whatever that is. But you have an opportunity, just like you're saying, to fall, get up, fall, get up. Your parents are still alive, so they can help you while you fall and get up and fall and get up. And you won't have that when you're my age. you're in a different phase of life. And yes, I hold on, Terry, and this is something I want to ask you. I hold on to the idea that I should try to be adventurous and do new things, even though I'm older and I know some of the pitfalls of life. I try not to get jaded by them. Does that make sense to you? I mean,
totally. Yeah, absolutely. And I totally agree with you. I always say to young people, especially, if there's something in your heart, something in your soul that you believe you're supposed to do, but it scares you, go ahead and do it. Because at the end of your life, the things that you're going to regret are not going to be the things you did. They're going to be the things you didn't do. And by then it's going to be too late to go back and do them.
Yes, yes. And as you get older, I had an experience in 2015. I had not traveled across to the other side of the pond, basically, for over, 30 something years. And I definitely have a fear of heights and flying. Okay. It is like every time I have to set myself up to get on a plane. Right. But I was determined. I was just like, I am going to Bali. I am going. I did a vision board with Bali on it. And I got on that plane all by myself. It was weird in the beginning because I thought, oh gosh, do they have enough gas? How your mind, do they have enough gas to get across this ocean? What's dude doing up there? Is he asleep? He better not be asleep and have this thing on autopilot. And I'm like this the whole time, But I made it. And I got back and I made it. And I have forever been changed by that trip.
Yeah, I think that's, and you bring up a good point. And I guess I'll recommend this. I try to do this every single day of my life. Do one thing that makes you nervous, that scares you, that makes you uncomfortable, that's potentially embarrassing. It doesn't have to be a big thing. I mean, the other day, I hate going to the dentist. The other day, I picked up the phone, and I made my 6-month appointment for my cleaning. It was just a little bit uncomfortable. But if you do something uncomfortable every day of your life, it doesn't have to be big, something small. When the big things in life hit us, and this, they hit us all. We lose somebody close to us. We lose our job. We're living out of our car. We've all heard the stories. If you do those little things every day, you'll be so much more resilient to handle the big things when they happen to all of us.
And resiliency is an excellent word. And I know by being a basketball coach, you had many players of different skills. And there's always the top seed. They get out there and they come off the bench and they, everybody, oh, look at girlfriend. She does the 3-pointer and everything. But how did you keep the people who were looking, how we do ourselves, like, a woman will look at Kim Kardashian and say, oh man, I look nothing like her, so I'm not beautiful. No. Or a sports person will see another, like I know you played against Michael Jordan, and it's like you'll look at Michael Jordan and see him fly. I thought he was flying when I would see him. And you think, I could never lift my body up off that ground, but I love the game. I want to play. Or whatever that thing may be where you're comparing, that comparison stuff that we do that keeps us from our own excellence. I know you speak a little bit about that also in the book. So talk about that. Like talk about that, because we do that.
We do. And that's a huge mistake. I mean, excuse me.
Bless you.
My gifts and talents are not your gifts and talents, are not the person down the street's gifts and talents. Sorry, I guess something caught my throat.
No, please take some. It's that time of year too.
It is. And so, I used to tell my players they needed to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And so I would, do drills and put people in places that made them uncomfortable, because I wanted them not to fail, but to realize that they had so much more to give themselves to be successful. But it's interesting. I had and this had never happened to me before, coaching boys or girls. We were in the middle of a game one day, and I turned to the bench and I pointed to a player and I said, get in for so-and-so. And, she shook her head, and I went back to coaching, and I looked over at the scores table and there was nobody there. And I turned back around and I pointed at her again. I'm like, get in for so-and-so. And now she's like shaking me off like a big league pitcher. It's like, no, give me another sign. Give me another sign. I'm like, what? You don't want to go in the game? And she's like, no, we're going to go. So I had to bring her over to me, literally, game's going on right in front of me. And I looked at her and I'm like, what's the problem? She's like, I don't want to go in the game. I said, well, there's no uniform wearers on this team. You come to practice every day, you work hard to get better for yourself, and you work hard to make your teammates better. So I don't understand why you don't want to go in the game. And she's like, well, and then the tears start coming. And it's like, well, my friends are in the stands, and if I make a mistake, they're going to laugh at me. And I said, well, what about your responsibility to your teammates? What about these girls that, you're out here every day working hard with? Don't you owe them something as well? I mean, I had a counseling session literally, right in the middle of a basketball game. And finally, I convinced her to go into the game that, her teammates needed her, but I'd never had that happen before. I mean, it was just such a foreign thing for her. But that's the power of fear, that you are so scared, so paralyzed that you can't, it's like, I've never had that before. I mean, I was always mad when I didn't play in a game. It's like, what do you mean I didn't play? How come? And this is somebody who's telling me I don't want to because I'm afraid. So I think that's the paralyzing power of fear. And if you can overcome that, especially at an early age, you can do anything you want in life.
Yes. How does your faith and faith play a role in all of this for you? I am a faith person. I'm a practicing Christian, as people, and I know that makes people uncomfortable in some circles. It's really interesting to me that there are some circles that because I love all people, the minute they know that my faith is my guiding light, I can feel their awkwardness with it, maybe because they don't practice anything or they think I'm going to judge them. But I'm always trying to remind people that this is my personal choice. And when I share my life with you, I'm sharing the tools. When you say to me, oh, Michelle, I love the way you live your life, it impresses me, I have to tell you it's my faith that is the seed for it. So that's why I share it in that way. But how has your faith, with the book and everything that you've gone through in the last 2 decades of your life with your health and all of that, brought you to this moment?
Yeah, I think you mentioned earlier, what I call my 3S, faith, family, and friends. And, we are great, especially here in the United States, about, we start down a path toward a goal or an ambition or something like that. And then an obstacle gets in our way. We butt up against something and oh, wait a minute, that was hard. I'm going to quit. And then when we quit, we got to blame somebody. We got to blame our parents or our boss or our station in life. And very few people in life take personal responsibility for their own success and happiness. So when I got cancer, people were like, well, who do you blame? I'm like, what do you mean, who do I blame? It's like, well, you got to blame somebody. I said, no, I don't. Well, you certainly have to blame God. And I sort of joke. I'm like, no, I don't think God got up on a Tuesday morning, checked his to-do list and said, hey, Terry Tucker, cancer today. I don't think that happened at all. But what I do think is that God has given me the resources, the resolve, the love, the patience, the whatever you want, the family, the people I've been able to surround myself with to get me through this. So I don't blame anybody. I mean, a couple of summers ago, I had some genetic testing done of all 88 genes that doctors either know of or suspect cause all different forms of cancer, not just the melanoma that I have. And I have no mutations in any of my genes, which sort of begs the question, well, then why did I get this? Yeah. But my doctor can't tell me. So I don't spend a lot of time worrying about, why did I get it? When am I going to die? And all that kind of stuff. I figure that's way above my pay grade. I don't make enough money to think about that. So it was just one of those things. But, you talked about how you model your life, based on your faith and that. And I'll give you a quick story here. I had a nurse recently.
Here, please. Yes.
A nurse recently who said, she's about 25 years old. When I first met her, she was already a nurse, but she was training on the unit that I get treated in. And a couple months ago, she was taking care of me by herself. And she said, Terry, I've got a story I want to tell you, but I'm a little uncomfortable. And I said, well, it sounds like it might be a good story. I'd like to hear it, but I understand if you don't want to share it. So eventually she did. She said, when I first met you, she said, I was going to get out of nursing. I had a good friend of mine die. I was in a really dark place. I talked to my mom and dad. I was going to quit nursing and I was going to go to work for Amazon. And she said, and then I met you and I see all the crap, for lack of a better word, that you go through with your treatments. You're shaking, you're vomiting, all the things you go through, and you keep coming back every single day. And then I read about your history with cancer, and she said, I knew I was where I was supposed to be. Now, if she would have never shared that with me, I would have had no idea that my life had had a positive impact on her in any way. I mean, and so I think it's important for all of us to, who's out there that is like, gosh, I really want to be like Michelle. You have no idea who these people are. And I remember John Wooden, the basketball coach at UCLA when I was growing up in the 70s, had a great quote. And I'll end with this. He said, a careful person I want to be, a little person follows me. I dare not go astray for fear they may go the same way. So I think it's real important for all of us. So many people out there would give anything they had just to walk in our shoes, for 10 minutes. And we have no idea who those people are. So I just sort of keep that in mind when you think, oh, yeah, my life's terrible or things are bad. I guarantee you there are people out there that would trade places with you like that.
Yes. And the gratitude for what you have. I think sometimes we forget about what we have. I recently just took a stock of that, where I looked around in my life and I'm getting to that age where I'm in the winter season, what we call the winter season. And, I know that and I'm aware of that. And so my mortality is something I think about a lot, actually, not so much because I'm afraid of it, but because I want to make sure that the footprint that I'm trying to leave, that I do a good job at doing that with whatever time I have left. So when you think about what that statement there, and you think about your footprint going forward, what is it? You've written the book, you're a motivational speaker, you've touched the lives. I know as a coach, because I know I've have some fond memories of my coaches, and I know my children do too. They've had some bad coaches, but we've had some good coaches that really nurtured our hearts and spirits and helped us to grow into the people that we are. Going forward in your life, as you look at where you've come, and now you're motivating other people with your story. What is the footprint that you're trying to leave behind?
That's a great question. I've had people ask me that. How do you want to be remembered? And I've really come to the conclusion that I don't really want to be remembered. I mean, not that I'm just one of billions of people on this planet, and yes, I'm trying to make a difference. Yes, I'm trying to put as much goodness, positivity, love, motivation, inspiration back into the world as I can with whatever time I have left. But I mean, I'm not that in me to think that, I'm all that. I don't have all the answers. I have things that have worked for me that I try to share with people. And if they work for you, then take them and use them. And if they don't, then develop your own, truths or certainties in life that you can hang on to. But I think it's, I guess one of the things that I learned from team sports, and you probably did too, is that, it's part that what team sports teaches you is the part of being part of something that's bigger than yourself. You realize that if you don't do your job, not only do you let yourself down, but you let your teammates down, your coaches down, your fans down, et cetera. And if you think about it, the biggest team game that we all play is this game of life. And, I'm in a clinical trial right now of a drug that is probably not going to save my life, but maybe it's going to save the life of somebody 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when I'm not here anymore. And if that happens, then that's part of being part of something that's bigger than yourself. So, when I go to treatment, it's sort of, you have two handles that you can grab. You can grab the handle of, I have to go to treatment, or you can grab the handle of, I get to go to treatment. And if I get to go to treatment, I'm getting to go to treatment because I'm maybe going to make a difference in somebody's life down the road. Whereas, I feel terrible. I have to do this. Well, you don't have to. You really don't. But I think it's important for all of us to look at, do you have to do something or do you get to do something? I mean, my brother is a principal or a president of a Catholic high school in Chicago, and it's the Marist High School, and the Marist brothers asked him to go to Guatemala and evaluate the Marist school in Guatemala. And he's like, well, sure, okay. He said, I get off the plane at 11 o'clock at night. There's all these armed soldiers in the airport. I am taken, in an armed convoy to the Marist compound. And the next day we go up into the mountains to the Marist High School, and I'm talking to the principal. And I said to him, how do you handle, bullying and suicide and all the things that we deal with here in the United States? And the principal looked at him like, what do you mean? He said, well, how do you handle those kind of things? He's like, we don't have these things here. He said, these kids live in, huts with dirt floors in them that have no air conditioning or heating, that their parents make $1 a day, working in the fields. These kids realize that education is their only way out of poverty. So there is no bullying. There's no suicide. These kids are happy to be here. Again, how many of our kids in the United States have to go to school versus get to go to school? So I think it's all kind of how you look at it. And I know that was a long-winded answer.
No, Terry, because I do think that as a society, we need to weigh the societal norms that we put forth from generation to generation, because I was raised in the 50s and 60s. So the reality is, my understanding is, you dig deep, you work hard, and you will bear fruit. Right. I mean, that is it. You show up, and you show up ready and bring your best self. And then, and nobody said to me, particularly my parents, if you fail, we're going to be there to pick you up. We love you, but you're going to have to make some decisions on your own. And we're there. But, when I was raising my daughter, she is the youngest of my children, so just recently graduated from college, and I found the environment had changed. My children are a decade apart, and I found parenting had gotten weird, where this helicopter term that they were using or are using was really robbing these young people of their ability to make decisions. And now that I'm employing some of these 20-somethings, and I love you all, I love you. No, I love you. This is just the reality in which I live in when I speak these things, and this is my truth. When the first time you say to them, you could have done this a little bit better, or could you go back? They're appalled. They're shattered. They're broken. And I'm like, okay, so have you never been told that you made a mistake? And the answer from this person was no. They had never been told that what they produced was substandard to who they were. And therefore, when they heard it from me, it was like I had punched them in the face. That's a disservice to who we are and our next generation of folks, because life does do that to you. You can be going along, Terry, right? You can be going along, life is grooving along, you're feeling good, the sun comes up, you see the sparrows, everything. And the next thing you know, there's a storm. And if you don't pivot through the storm, you get stuck right here. And where that stuck place is what your book is talking about.
It is. And, it's funny when you say that, it reminded me of a story. I was talking to my publisher, and I told him, I said, I listen to every podcast that I've been on, and I've probably been a guest on over 400 podcasts around the world. I said, I listen to every single one of them when they come out, because I want to be better. I want to, that story was choppy, or I said too many times, or whatever. And he's like, well, Terry, no, it's not about that. It's just about not sucking. And I'm like, no, that's not what it's about for me. If that's the way we're judging things now, you don't need to be good. You just need to not suck. I'm like, that's a problem as far as I'm concerned. I said, so that's not how I operate. But, I'm not too far behind you age-wise. So I get it. It was like, you know what? And I always say this, especially to young people, you're unique. You have unique gifts and talents, but you're not special. I got news for you. You're not special. And it was hard as a basketball coach because, you know, I'm trying to teach these kids certain things, and then they go home, you know, and mom and dad have them for 8 hours or whatever. And they're like, you know, yeah, your coach should be playing you over that person and stuff like that. And when I had my parent meeting, I used to have to tell the parents, it's like, look, if you don't do my job, if you sit in the stands and coach your kid, then I guess I'm going to have to come to your office and tell you how to do your job. Because I guarantee you, I know a whole lot more about basketball than you do. So please resist the temptation to tell your kids that I'm a bad person or I'm a bad coach because I'm not doing what you want. That's that helicopter parenting thing. Yes. And I knew when my daughters, you know, when our daughter made a mistake, I used to kind of sit back, and it's like, she was bullied for a while. And I used to say to her, it's like, do you need my help? No, Dad, I got it. I'm like, okay. You know, as long as you're physically, you know, safe, you're going to figure this out. I'm not going to figure it out for you. You're going to figure it out. And I think that's one of the reasons she was able to go to the Air Force Academy and be successful, because she had that intestinal fortitude, for lack of a better word, that, you know what, I'm going to be good. I'm going to be successful. Not, I'm just going to not suck. You know, that's just a different way of looking at it. And it's not a way I want to look at it.
No, and I agree with you, because I'll tell you this quick story. My son played football when he was young. And at the time I was pregnant with my daughter, and I would take him to these football practices in the middle of the rain in California here, whatever. And at the end of the season, he hated it. And he said, I don't want to play. And you could tell he didn't want to play. It was just my thing about try everything, street hockey, you know, try all the sports, because I'm like you. As an athlete, I know what that means when you are part of a team. Okay. So they started giving medals at the end for attendance. Now they're 8, 9, 10 years old. So the Michelle Pope, if you've looked enough at me, you know who I am. I'm like, excuse me, he can't drive. The parent needs the medal for getting them here on time. He couldn't have walked here. Why are you giving him a medal, or them a medal for attendance? That's weird. And the coach was like, well, we want them to feel like, I said, but it's the parent. Now, give the parent the medal for the attendance, give the child the attendance for most improved performance or whatever. You're getting your awards mixed up. And afterwards, even though my son quit, the coach called me. He said, I pondered what you said to me, and next year we will do it differently. I said, yeah, because you shouldn't get an award for something that you're not responsible for. Yeah. And you know, and you're so right, because what you're teaching, you know, my mom and dad, I mean, it was myself and my two brothers, and we were all jocks, you know, we all played sports. And my parents used to do what I call divide and conquer parenting. It'd be like, okay, Terry's got a game over here. Dad's going to go to that. Larry's got to practice over here. Mom's going to go to that. And what my parents taught us, and I'm sure same thing, what you taught your children, was the importance of family, the importance of caring about each other, loving each other, supporting each other. And when I graduated from college and got my first job at Wendy's, my dad was sick and was dying of cancer. And I remember one night, my youngest brother was in high school and he had a basketball game. And I told my dad, I said, yeah, I haven't been to the gym in a few days. I'm not going to Brian's game. I'm gonna go work out. My dad's like, no, you're not. I'm like, oh, what do you mean? No, I'm an adult. I have my own job. I'm doing like, no, you don't understand. You know, that's what our family's about. It's about loving, caring, and supporting each other. Your brother needs you right now. You're going to go to his game. And my dad was right. I was just, you know, I was young and stupid and trying to, you know, puff out my chest and say, you know, I'm going to be my own man. But I went to my brother's game because that's what my parents taught us. That's what a family is. That's, you know, the people in your life, your little inner circle, those should be the people that love you, that care about you, that want the best for you. And if you don't have those people in your life, then get them out of there and put people in your life that are willing to sacrifice the relationship with you because they love you enough to tell you the truth. They love you enough to say, hey, Terry, you know, you're really messing up with this. And but what do I do? No, you're not my friend anymore. You know, get out of here if you're not
on my side. But no, we need those people. We need those people to keep us on the straight and narrow, because they're willing to sacrifice the relationship. They're willing to not be your friend anymore because they love you enough to tell you the truth.
Oh, Terry. And so many lives have been lost because they had people around them that they call, I think the term is yes people, and nobody said to them, stop doing this drug, or said, we're going to throw you in the car and do an intervention, and they're dead. And they took all that talent along with them, and we lose out on many of the folks I'm speaking about are artists, musicians, and so forth. And only because we look at money and being in the in crowd, we don't want that person to tell us we can't hang with them anymore, when in fact love, which you talk about also in your book, love is the place where we have to be honest. That's what you're saying. We got to be honest there. Oh my gosh. And we don't. And it starts with us. Loving, right? With you as an individual, loving myself enough to be honest with myself when I'm being poopy and disgusting because I'm mad at something else and whatever. It starts with you.
And it does. And especially with young people, they don't have the emotional maturity, the emotional intelligence yet. So they need people around them that, are willing to say, yeah, Terry, kind of messing up. I wouldn't do that, and here's why. But, we want to dismiss them instead of saying, okay, Bob, why do you feel that way? Let's talk about this. Well, here's what I'm thinking. Oh, I never thought about it that way. But no, we don't bother to take the time to have the discussion. And again, it goes back to, listening to respond or listening to understand. And I think the importance of listening to understand, permeates so many things we do in life. And if you're not willing to have a conversation, if you're just willing to dismiss somebody because their opinion is different than yours, it's the same thing in politics right now. If you don't agree with me, you're a bad person. Why am I a bad person? I just don't happen to agree with you. Doesn't make me a bad person. Doesn't make you a bad person. But for somehow we've gotten to a point where if we don't agree with each other, then that person is somehow wrong or bad. I don't get it.
Well, everything becomes a debate. That's what I said to somebody. I'm not if I want to be in a debate, I'll formally get myself in a debate situation. I want to be in conversation and dialogue. And that to me, excuse me, we both are having that this morning. That is the dividing line that creates that division among all people and creates what the isms that I am so against, all of them, all the isms, not just one, all of them. And the reality is it's because we are in judgment of each other and we're debating everything. I like vegan leather. Okay, so what? It doesn't matter. And what you're teaching me and what you taught me and learning from you, Terry, and I want to thank you again for coming to Life is a Sacred Journey. And we definitely need to have you back as you go through your journey, and we will pray for you and just know that healing is not impossible in our world. But when you are thinking about your book and its impact on the world, is there a second book that's bubbling up inside of you, or are you feeling like, nope, this is the book, this is it? Tell us, and then
I guess let me give you one quote that I heard based on what you were just saying, and I think I wish I could remember who said it, but they said it's easier to judge than it is to think. So we judge people much quicker because it's harder for us to think about, oh yeah, maybe they're different, but how are they the same, like you say? So anyway, from that regard, in terms of the book, yeah, I'll try to figure out who said it and send it to you.
Wrote it down.
but my book is about success and how people can be successful. I am toying kind of with a second book with another word that begins with S, and that's significance. Success is what we do for ourselves. Significance is what we do for other people. Now, I think you can be both. I think you can be successful and significant. But I really feel that all of whatever we're supposed to do in this world has to revolve around service to our God, service to our fellow man, whatever that is. So maybe a second book around significance. How can people make a difference in other people's lives instead of just being successful? So we'll see if it comes about. I mean, I'm kind of pulling stuff together. Haven't started writing it yet, but we'll see.
Can you do me a big favor before I let you go? Would you tell them about the 40% rule?
Sure. The 40% rule is something that I learned from the Navy SEALs, some of the toughest group of men, I think, in the world. My wife actually works with a gentleman who used to be a Navy SEAL, and he's very kind. He calls me on my off weeks when I'm not in treatment just to check up on me. And sometimes we talk about this 40% rule. And all it is if you think you're at the end, you don't think you can go on, for them, you can't, run another lap or swim another lap or do another push-up. But for all of us, if you think about this rule applies. If you're at the end of your rope, you're only at 40% of your maximum, and you still have another 60% left to give to yourself. So if you ever get into that point where I can't, whatever, I can't study anymore, I can't run anymore, I can't do another report, whatever that is, you're really only at 40% of your maximum, and you still have another 60% left in reserve to give to yourself.
Wow. I'm going to tell you why, Terry, I asked you to share that. This past week, a dear colleague, friend, a supporter of Life is a Sacred Journey, her brother committed suicide. If you watched some of my podcasts, that's my heart ministry for people who feel lost and unnoticed. He committed suicide. So in his letter, he wrote, "The world will be better off without me. My family will be better off without me." And I constantly say to people, no, they won't. And your story, as we end, that 40% people, yes, yes, it's hard. You're in a dark place. You're in the abyss. You feel like you can't go on and you want to take your life. And this is big for me, and it is. If you just wait and make it through that moment, suffering through that moment, because it is optional. Terry taught me that. Somebody will be there on the other side to help you get through. I promise you that. But you gotta meet us halfway to get to that 50, 60, 70, 80. Suicide hotline, 1-800-273-8255. They, in the summer, will have a lifeline chat that you can go on their website, 1-800-273-8255. If you feel like the world would be better off without you, your family, it's a lie. It's a lie being spoken through your DNA. Find somebody that has a phone that you can dial that number and talk to somebody who's willing to, as Terry said, actively listen without judgment and whatever. But please don't take your life. Your family will suffer, the world will suffer, and we need you. You have a purpose. You just don't know what it is yet. So hang in there. So Terry.
Michelle, can I add one thing to that?
Please.
So when I was a hostage negotiator with the police department, a lot of times I would deal with these people in crisis. And a lot of times they're family members, and this is kind of aimed at the family and friends of these people who are thinking of taking their lives. They suspect something. They're thinking, maybe that person's gonna, but they don't want to say anything. They're afraid, if I say something to you, then I'm going to put that idea into your mind. You're not going to put it in their mind. If you think somebody's going to harm themselves or kill themselves, ask them, hey, Bob, are you thinking about killing yourself? Because if Bob isn't, Bob's just going to fire on you. He's going to be like, no, you idiot, I'm not thinking about doing that. But if he is, you may be throwing Bob a lifeline that he needs to open the door to maybe just talk to you. And if I can burn off some of that emotional energy or that fear and get my little teeter-totter to equilibrium, then I'm in a situation where maybe I won't kill myself. And maybe just by asking that simple question, hey, are you thinking of harming yourself or killing yourself? You open that door, give them that lifeline, and maybe they won't do it. So don't be afraid to ask. If you suspect it, get involved, ask that question.
I'm so glad I brought it up with you still on online here, Terry, because that is my thing. I just feel for people who are in that dark space, and I have to admit, honestly, I've been there in my life. That dark place where I thought the world would be better off, my family would be better off if I just ended it. And somebody threw me a lifeline. And it was because of the very thing that you said. Somebody said to me, "You're not acting yourself. What's going on?" And tears flowed, stories started coming out, and I felt better. And I thought, they threw me hope. You're another part of what you write about. They threw me hope. And when we throw hope at people, man, it's a gift, isn't it?
It certainly is.
Yeah. Well, you've been a gift to us this morning, a gift to me, Terry. I want to say to all of you in the Life is a Sacred Journey neighborhood, please check Terry out, get his book. Also, I'm going to ask you to lift him up. I don't care what denomination or practice that you have. Just send good thoughts of healing and health and restoration of body to Terry so that he can feel it from all of you 4,000 people out there, and share it. And Terry, thank you for coming to Life is a Sacred Journey. And I hope that you come back, and I will continue to stalk you and follow you, stalk you in a good way. And please let me know if ever there's anything that I can do for you as well. But it's been an honor. And tell them the name of your book again.
Sustainable Excellence, the 10 Principles to Leading Your Uncommon and Extraordinary Life.
And Terry has a website. He's also a motivational speaker. So if there's any place that you think that his story would motivate young people particularly, but also older people to be their best selves, to think differently about why they exist, he's your man. Get a hold of him. All right. Life is a Sacred Journey family. Stay, Terry. I want to say something to you offline. Life is a Sacred Journey family. Hug a tree. Go hug a tree. It is one of the best things you can do. Pet a cat. And you know how I feel about dogs. Pet a dog, love a dog, go rescue a dog if you can. And hug yourself. Love yourself. Look in the mirror and know that you are magnificently and wonderfully made, because guess what? You are. See you next Friday morning here at Life is a Sacred Journey. As my sister T says, God willing and the creek don't rise. Peace out.